Hello and welcome back to our weekly Madmen with a Box live stream. I am OZChris, Madmen Invasion of Earth, here with ProfPixel, as always. And in the no space, let's call it E space, Jimmy is currently trapped there. Or volunteered to stay. Who knows?
We're currently joined by the one and only Joe of the Corrallos, Joe Corrallo.
There we go. We rescued one person from E-Space. That's
that's good.
That's good. Which would you rather be, the Romana 2 or the K9?
Romana 2, right?
Yeah, we don't. Yeah. We could just make another K9. I mean, there's been, what, 4 of them, so...
Well, here... Yeah. Well, there's this very specific way we treat K9 here.
How long, K9?
Insufficient data.
Yeah, you never fucking know the answer, but it's important.
Okay, nine. But yes, we have a...
K9 or Jimmy?
Huh?
It's K9 or Jimmy?
I guess so. He's just...
Jimmy or K9.
Somewhere. But we are here with another week of news, or lack thereof. There's not quite a bit, but then we'll end it with our review of the classic Doctor Who classic, Dalek Invasion, the Dalek Invasion of Earth, not to be confused with Dalek's Invasion Earth 2150 AD.
Exactly.
Which
not confusing at all.
I know every grammar teacher just tearing their hair out just reading that. Dalek's Invasion Earth 2150 AD.
Yes.
Have the same ring to it, but okay.
Our news isn't Dalek related at all. I have no good way to segue.
Good, we have too many Daleks. Dalek Mania, no more.
that does not go here. I love the little...
No, but I think before that, we should say a couple of days ago, it was announced that Michael Jaston, who portrayed the Valeyard in Colin Baker's final season of Doctor Who, sadly passed away.
Yes.
So, our condolences. Fantastic actor. Amazing as the Valeyard.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that Trial of a Time Lord is my favorite classic season of Doctor Who.
Yeah. Is affectionately referred to occasionally as the Scrapyard.
Or the Rail Yard.
Or the Rail Yard, yeah. I love it. Just whenever the Doctor just like, he can't really win an argument, so just call him a name. He just goes to
Barnyard.
Which makes it even funnier that when we find out the Valeyard is the Doctor, he's just insulting himself with like terrible insults.
To be fair,
that the Valeyard probably knows is happening because he's from the future.
Oh, potentially.
Potentially.
We don't really know.
Yeah, the very convoluted history of the Valeyard. Well, we knew what was originally planned, and I don't know, maybe it would have made more sense, but who knows?
The world may never know.
Yeah.
But
rest in peace, Michael Jaston. You'll be definitely missed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Indeed. So there, it's actually, it's not more Big Finish news because he was a big part of Big Finish, but he was beyond. He was in other things too. But going more Big Finish, Dream Team.
Yes, so another box set in the Fifth Doctor Adventures range. The Dream Team has the Fifth Doctor, Tegan, Nyssa, and Adric facing off against the Dream Crabs from the 12th Doctor Christmas special. It was last Christmas is what it was called. Really, really good Christmas special. Really good horror Christmas special.
But didn't they just do a classic Doctor's New Monster?
They did.
With these,
the most recent classic Doctor's New Monsters had 6 and 8 up against the Dream Crabs. So Stephen Moffat is really getting a paycheck. But no, this should be interesting. Who's the writer of it. I'm going to quickly go have a look.
If you check out the tab Big Finish Krabby.
Krabby. Yeah, it's loading, it's being slow. You know. Written by, it is comprised of 2 stories, The Merfolk Murders by Tim Foley and Dream Team by Lizzie Hopley. So they got some pretty good writers on this. Although I'm 50-50 on Tim Foley, but he did do Pursuit of the Nightjar, which was in the previous 5th Doctor box set, and that was amazing. That was a really good story. So I have more faith in Tim Foley in here than I did with in Audacity. I know everyone loved like the Great Cyber War. I wasn't particularly a big fan of that. I thought it was okay. It was fine. But Pursuit of the Nightjar was like absolutely stellar. So he's hoping it's another good release.
The really important thing here, though, is that he's wearing his glasses.
Fine. Okay, fine. We'll give you the representation, Pixel. Okay, fine.
Yes, I'm so.
You're really stretching. You're really stretching for it.
You know,
guys, Doctor Who wears glasses. I'm seen, and you can see.
I'm seen, and I can be seen it because I'm wearing my glasses. Next from Big Finish is more 5th Doctor news.
Yes, so they are reviving the novel adaptation ranges, which the name is very self-explanatory. They're adapting. What they did was adapt Virgin New Adventures or Missing Adventure novels and adapt them into audio. They primarily did for for Virgin, it was the 7th Doctor, obviously, and then for Missing Adventures, it was primarily the 4th Doctor, because I think this was around the time they got him back, and they're like, okay, we're going to make sure we get enough content out of Tom Baker as we can. Yeah, so they adapted various novels like The Well-Mannered War, the Love and War, which was very obvious because that's the introduction of Bernice Summerfield, and a Bernice Summerfield novel is what got Big Finish their job by adapting Oh No It Isn't. So this is quite a surprise. So they are bringing it back with the start of the Missing Adventures, Goth Opera, which I have. It's good.
Okay.
It's a really good book. It's Paul Cornell. Okay. You can't particularly go wrong with Paul Cornell. But
Fair.
I really enjoyed Goth Opera, so I'm interested in checking this out. I'm surprised they brought this range back, because from what I've heard, it did not sell well. And that is because it was one particular range that was heavily pirated. So they weren't making money off of it because people were pirating the releases instead of actually buying it. So I'm very surprised they decided to bring it back.
Well,
because they've had series ending, and then they're bringing back something which is not really a fault of their own, was operating in like stock losses because they just weren't making money off of it. So it's very interesting that they brought it back.
I mean,
I'm wondering if they're testing the grounds to see, okay, can it work this time, or people are just going to pirate it again?
Well, Chris, now that you're buying things, they can afford it, you know?
Oh, yeah.
You started just buying all at once. They're like, you know what? It's time.
Yeah. I'm wondering how they're going to do this, because Goth Opera is a prequel sequel to Blood Harvest, which is another book I had, and I've done a video on. I've done a review on. That's a Virgin New Adventures novel, because the whole point of that novel is to set up this one and to set up the Missing Adventures range. So I'm wondering if they're going to cut stuff out so that it's just its own complete story. Because for the 90% of the story, it is just its own story, but they are continuing threads from Blood Harvest, particularly with the character of Roth. Romana appears for a bit in the novel. continuing from Blood Harvest, because that's the novel that brought her back out of E-Space. So I'm wondering, because they going to take liberties with adaptations. You can't always be one for one. Like I know when they did Cold Fusion, they added in that the fifth and seventh Doctor mentioned that they have calculations running in their TARDISes for some reason, and that's a reference to Day of the Doctor. And it's like, yeah, that's not in the actual novel because Day of the Doctor didn't exist. So, who knows? Because apparently I don't remember that Rassilon was in Goth Opera. Rassilon is in Blood Harvest, but he's not in Goth Opera. But Rassilon is in this, and he's voiced by Richard Armitage. Most people know him as Thorin Oakenshield from the Hobbit trilogy. And he's voiced Rassilon in the Time War series. So it's interesting that they're getting Time War era Rassilon for this release. So I'm wondering how that's going to work.
I've never read this. I'm trying to keep up. All I can really say is, wow, the Big Finish the Big Finish intern is really excited.
Oh man, how else are they going to get paid?
Oh my god. Okay, it's happening. Everyone stay calm. The brand new full cast. Yeah, no, it's just it's so random. It's not like something that was even hinted at. Oh, big surprise coming.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Like I said, it's very strange that they brought this range back when it wasn't particularly selling well because of outside forces. So
with a
I don't know, guys. Maybe Longbarrow adaptation. To see if they can condense that into a 2 to 3 hour story.
I think Big Finish mentioning it right here because they're asked, are they planning to continue the range past this story? It depends on the previous sales and popularity, and measured in the actual number of sales.
Yeah.
No.
Don't pirate it.
Don't pirate it. If you want more of it, don't pirate it, okay? Honestly.
It's fair.
Guys, I don't have money. It's like, okay, you don't have to get it then.
And that's right. Just do what I do. Leech off of Chris.
Yeah, just leech off of me.
Chris single-handedly funding Big Finish right now. Speaking of Big Finish, we have more Big Finish news.
Oh,
Cover reveal.
Oh, yes.
Quinn
Cover
Dilemma.
reveal. Yes, so we got our cover reveal of the Quinn Dilemma, the Sixth Doctor Adventures box set celebrating 40 years of Colin Baker as the Sixth Doctor. Really great looking cover by Sean Longmore. Thank God it's Sean Longmore doing the cover. We didn't have the really lazy water painting ones that we've had for the past 4 releases.
yeah.
It's a bit unfortunate, those covers.
Yeah, the Doctor's in enough distress.
No. More distress right there. Look at it. Oh my God. Beautiful.
Really, really fantastic cover. So very interested in this release as well.
Might be.
I'm surprised they haven't done a story mentioning distress. It just as a little joke.
You would think so.
The Sixth Doctor is stranded somewhere, and the companion has to go get help.
The Sontarans are back.
And the Doctor is literally calling out an SOS.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And somehow the Master and the Brigadier are there.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
And everyone's
giving you
singing.
ideas.
Yeah.
And there's a whole lot of famous singers. They're just there as well.
Yeah. You're right.
And then we somehow make a fake character making fun of Ian Levine.
That'd be
Wait,
nice.
we already did that. It's called the Absorbaloff.
Yeah, but to make fun of him more.
Yeah, we can make fun of it. Of course, it's Ian Levine. It's fun. bullying is bad,
That's
but
just-
sometimes
Okay, let's calm down there. A child designed that creature, Chris.
yeah.
A kid designed the Absorbaloff and thought it was really cool, and Russell T. Davies looked at it and said, "You know what? This is pretty cool." The concept isn't bad. The execution was very bad.
Russell thought, hey, this looks pretty cool and kind of reminds me of Ian Levine. Best of both worlds, put them together.
One last piece of news, and that's that apparently the Blu-ray short films are to be rested.
Yes. So whenever for most of the Doctor Who collections, they have a short film to promote it, and it's usually of one of the cast members from that season of that era. Essentially, it's like after they've traveled with the Doctor. So like when they did season 2, it was like they did like a sequel to the Mythmakers. So it's an older Vicky recounting her stories to I think it was the grandson or one of her grandchildren. And then for I think season 20, I believe, for the 5th Doctor is Tegan reuniting with Nyssa, but it's actually the Mara messing with her. So nice little things, nice little short films. And then for the most recent one, Leela at the last days of the last Great Time War. So that nice little short films. So they're apparently being rested. So they're probably just going to go back to them just like cutting bits and pieces. It's just doing like a standard like stock trailer. Like, here it is.
By Pete McTeague.
Yes, Pete McTeague. So it's a bit unfortunate because I like these little short.
These were
short
actually
films.
very good. I may have my issues with Kerblam, but these were wrong. These were good, especially the Leela one. That was actually like really good. Multicolored Daleks, yeah. But I'm just, it's sad, but it's not that sad.
Doesn't he give a reason why? I'm trying to remember what the reasoning was.
We're going to look at Radio Times live right now, see if we can, because we are only 17 minutes in.
I feel like with Doctor Who, it's because everything has to end abruptly, and people have to be kind of sad for a bit.
Yes, exactly.
Popular releases are going to have a bit of a rest. Speaking to BFI at a BFI South Bay screening, a lot of work. Yes, obviously it's a lot of work. We have one did 18 months ago, and there's more coming up. So they're still going to be here for us for a while, but they're reaching a point where we're going to have a breather for those trailers because they're a lot of work.
Well, if they already have some in the can, only so many people are still alive.
Yeah.
In some cases, and either that or the ones who are still alive have already like done something, and like it's like, oh, we're gonna have them come back again.
Well, to be fair, Louise Jameson has done 2 different ones as Leela.
Okay.
So I don't think it's like you could just get multiple back just for something. Yeah. So it's like what's left? What's there left? There's still quite a bit of Pertwee's era that hasn't been released. I mean, his first season has been released, but even then, like who could you get for that?
They already had Joe come for Defenders.
Because unfortunately, everyone from that era, apart from the actor that plays Benton, I think all of them have passed away.
Yeah.
So unless you do something with Benton for that season,
Did Katie Manning die?
No, not Kate. Pertwee's first season.
Oh,
She's not in that.
First season. Apologies.
It's okay.
I was going Pertwee era, and I was just like,
So his first season 7, like, yeah, you'd have to do something with Benton. I guess that's it. And then what else? There's not really much you could do for like Key to Time season either.
Yeah, also like there's some seasons it's like, do you really want to do one? Like, isn't it bad enough? Like, do we want, like, did they do one for season 24? Is that out? It shouldn't be, and they shouldn't. They did one for that?
Yeah. I was like,
why?
I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, it was like it's like some weird, like, it was called like 24 Carat. It was like Mel hosting like kind of like Shark Tank or something, and it had like some of the like one the actress that played one of the main Kangs, the one who played Kane, and a Tetrap. They're all pitching stuff like based off like from their episodes.
Yeah.
Then she reunites with the Seventh Doctor at the end. So that's just a nice little thing.
That sounds like the best thing that happened in season 24.
Sean points out that season 2 trailer is a little bit like a prequel for Fugitive of the Daleks.
Yeah, pretty much. Essentially, yeah.
If you have not listened to Fugitive of the Daleks, go! Do so now. Stephen Noonan, First Doctor, great stuff. I'm not going to say cheap because it's not, but it's worth it.
Yeah, so, but given they said they have stuff made already, so I'm wondering what collections they're going to be releasing soon. If they apparently have either stuff planned or stuff already.
Jamie puts on the kilt again.
I don't know how they're going to do that when like a lot of like Troughton's era is missing episodes.
It was a joke.
It's
a joke about an old man putting on a kilt. I
mean, they did.
Hey, if I wanted bad jokes, we would have Jimmy here.
That's true. They did animate them until they stopped doing that because they had to be abruptly stopping cool things. So,
well, I mean, they were supposed to be stopping it, and then what happened? They're making the Celestial Toymaker.
Yeah. Well, they did. There's like, hey, no, we're stopping them, and then it's like, here's Underwater Menace, then here's Celestial Toymaker.
I mean, if you stop it and then you release Underwater Menace, aren't you just punishing the audience? Like, out of all the ones Jesus.
Yeah, as someone whose only experience with the Underwater Menace is the animation, it's like, yeah, it's definitely something. What seasons are left? Well, obviously season 1. I'd say season, not counting the animation, season 3. Then you have, I think, season 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11. I don't think they've done 13. Have they? No, they haven't done 13 yet either. They haven't done 16, and they haven't done 25. Actually, kind of surprised they haven't done 25.
Yeah, 25 is the second best or second worst season of his.
So. It's well, yeah. It's funny because it's the middle season for Sylvester McCoy, and it is literally the middle of like ranking them from like 26, 25, 24.
Yes.
And then the season itself with the stories are 50-50. You get some really good ones, and then you get the Silver Nemesis.
I love that like behind the scenes documentary of Silver Nemesis is more entertaining than Silver Nemesis like every time.
Yeah, pretty much. Hey, what's up, Connor from the 50% Doctor Who podcast, saying, I've been watching Ark in Space for the pod, and my Natsal did say RTD says when his inspiration for Wild Blue Yonder. I haven't watched Ark in Space in like forever. I don't know. Do you think the Space Pirates would be better than the Underwater Menace? I haven't watched the Space Pirates, so I wouldn't know.
No. And
animation-wise, I don't know. It depends on who's animating it.
Yeah.
And Geeky Puppet Show will survive just despite you.
50% says, is it just me, or is Classic Who getting more popular? Even my hating ass is watching and kind of enjoying most of it.
The thing is that
we're kind of in a drought. We're in a Doctor Who drought at the moment.
One, we're in a drought, and two, I was explaining this at a convention that I was at this past weekend. Because somebody was talking about wanting to get into Doctor Who, and I said, no, you do not want to go back and watch all the early and go through. You want to start with something a little bit newer, and then once you get through that, you'll want to go back. That love, that appreciation for Classic Who, if you're watching it with a modern lens, grows with watching something current for you. At least that's how I feel.
I think it depends on the person.
I mean,
yeah.
Because I also like not exactly what you said, but along those same lines. This is a little more rigid, and I don't think I'd get pushback from this, but most people wouldn't recommend starting from the beginning and working entirely chronologically.
No. But
I know someone who did, and that's how they have to do it, and they did enjoy it that way. But that's how they're structured. So, like, if you know, I think sometimes it's that. Sometimes it's, well, what do you like, and you know, and figuring out what kind, because Doctor Who kind of breaks up into like genres. Do you want to get in someone more spooky one, a more hard sci-fi, or like things like that, and then it's also kind of coming at it from maybe you can go like, here's the best stories from each Doctor. Like, here's one of the best of each one to kind of get you into it that way too.
You want to watch the first Doctor? Here's the Web Planet. You'll enjoy it.
They pretty much tried to do that for what was it, for the 50th anniversary? They did the little 15-minute, here are some interviews talking about this Doctor's era, and then they showed an episode. So for the first Doctor, I think they showed the Daleks. Second Doctor, they showed Tomb of the Cybermen. And I can't recall the rest, really, except 6. I think they showed Trial of a Time Lord.
You see, I know that they try to push the Daleks as being the one for like William Hartnell, but I know we're going to get into it shortly, but the Dalek Invasion of Earth is definitely a better story. Like, partly because it's a whole episode shorter, and that can be make or break sometimes.
I just have to say, London 1965. Yes, the Twitch marathons are great.
But like,
Yeah.
there's a lot to and we'll get more into it. But yeah, it's like I don't know, and I think with and again, it's tough with Patrick Troughton. I know there's a lot of like love for Tomb of the Cybermen, and I do enjoy that story. And I know a lot of it came from it being one of the earlier stories. It like because the second they found it, they like restored it and got that fucker out on VHS as quick as they could, and it was a huge find, and that was amazing. I like, and in similar reasons to why I like the Dalek Invasion of Earth, the invasion, and I know it's missing 2 episodes, and they've animated it, blah blah blah. You're really only missing 1 because the first episode is just all set up, and it's like you could easily like if they found 4, that would be amazing. But like even watching the release they did with beforehand, where it's just 2, 3, and then 5 through 8. Such a good story, and I mean it's Kenneth Stoney's a big part of it, and just seeing the Cybermen, march through London, the new Cybermen designs, like things like that. It was all.
I do want to go ahead and say hello to Jervain. He is here.
Well, hello, gentlemen. Hello. How are you?
Not bad.
I also have to add on to that, though, that I wasn't completely truthful when I said they were picking the best, because they, for the 4th Doctor's era, I'm pretty sure they went ahead and showed Robot.
That's an odd choice.
I mean, that's not bad, but that is a very odd choice that they chose Robot.
It's not the best Tom Baker story with the word robot in the title.
Let's see.
I guess
Connor says, I'm really worried about new fans starting. I spoke to someone at the pub on the weekend on how to start, and he was confused and decided he wasn't going to try. Hope the Series 1 reboot works. See, I think it will. I don't know. It kind of depends, because you would have had to at least watch the Christmas special before watching Series 1.
Yeah. I think whenever they go ahead and have Season 1 as an actual option, they're going to lump in the Christmas special.
Probably, yeah. And I also added, have you guys seen all of Classic Who? I want to get that one day. I've seen about 15 serials. I have seen all of 5th Doctor onwards. I've seen all of that. 5th Doctor to the movie of Classic Who.
Mm-hmm.
So
here or there with anything before that.
Thanks to the Twitch marathon, I have seen all of Classic Who and filling in the gaps for the Dalek stories, because that first marathon they weren't allowed to show any Dalek stories, which is ridiculous.
Okay.
That's weird.
Well, the Cherry Nation estate didn't approve it, so
Really?
Then they did a repeat marathon like a couple months later, all Daleks, because they got the license.
Oh, poor people that had to watch Death in the Daleks.
That's a rough one, yeah. Which is crazy, because Day of the Daleks is one of the better Dalek stories, and then Planet of the Daleks is long.
Yep.
Yes. So, Maranya, at least from my understanding, how vocal tracks were able to survive, but the visuals were not, it's because they reused the film.
Mm-hmm.
The film itself, the pictures moving on the screen, they reused that film. That's not the audio tracks. That's separate, running together.
And a lot of them they just got from like VHS copies as well, and they just had to update it, bump the audio up a bit.
Can you hear me?
I would say, going back to Connor's saying not able to get new fans to start, like a starting point for new fans. I got one of my workmates into Doctor Who, and I said, just start at series 1.
Yeah.
They're currently on the they're now on David's last season, the specials. So they're getting there. Somebody will be like, "Hey, unearthly child."
I do not. I don't.
I do think you can show people that very first episode, not the full serial, just the first episode, because the first episode is fucking brilliant. And then it's 3 episodes of fucking nothing. It's crazy. It is crazy. But that first episode, I think you could show most people just that part. And get people in.
Are you disrespecting the tribe of gum?
Yes.
I believe I am.
I think it's 50%. When people say there's too many series, I say it's a great thing is if they love the show, they have so many doctors and eras to watch and love. Yeah, no,
you don't have to watch all of it.
Yeah.
You can just pick and choose.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's great.
Unless you're Jimmy.
You gravitate. Yeah. But people a lot of people aren't as worldly and understanding as I and tend to gravitate towards just a couple of different doctors that they really like. And if you're only really if you watch a bunch and you really gravitate towards maybe 1 or 2 doctors and you just want to explore that end of sort of, Big Finish, extended universe stuff, it's not bad. It's only overwhelming if you really feel the need to deep dive every single Doctor's expanded universe.
Yeah.
Good luck. Because a lot of that doesn't exist.
Yes.
Good luck trying to find all of it.
Doctor Who is a completionist's nightmare. But you know what?
It's a nightmare because it's not possible.
It's not possible.
Yeah. Also, one of these days, it feels like he should learn some of these lessons for good, right? I mean, how many lessons does this guy have to fucking learn?
Well, I mean,
So
with a new face is a new chance to learn the same damn thing.
Exactly, I guess.
Literal new year, new me.
Very true.
Black Dalek rolling out in this episode. New year, new me.
But no, that is it for the news. Time to our review, to our topic. The famous, the well-known, the Dalek Invasion of Earth. Written by one Terry Nation. Starring the First Doctor, portrayed by William Hartnell, alongside Ian Chesterton, Barbara Wright, and Susan Foreman, all portrayed by William Russell, Jacqueline Hill, and Carol Ann Ford. This story sees the return of the Daleks after their appearance in the first season in The Daleks, and sees them invading Earth, taking over Earth, mainly just London.
Right.
Because wait, you're saying other areas on Earth exist?
Yeah, you know how a weirdly, I know I'm preaching to the choir to you guys, how America thinks they're the center of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually never really experienced that.
Well,
Really?
for Doctor Who,
You scared Gervain away.
In all fairness, though, I mean, at least what was it in Gundam? They destroyed all of Sydney. That's cool, right?
What Sydney? So fuck them. I don't care. Sydney, eat shit, bro. But the entirety of the invasion is all in London. Which, to be fair, Dalek Invasion of London just doesn't ring quite as good. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, halfway through watching this, I already had the thumbnail ready, and I realized, oh crap, is this story called The Dalek Invasion of London? And I went to go check. And I was like, oh no, I'm good. Good.
Dalek Invasion of Earth, silly. So let's start with Joe. What are your thoughts on the Dalek Invasion of Earth?
One thing I have to point out before going into my deep thoughts on this is when William Hartnell at the end does his whole like someday I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. I kind of pictured that as Jimmy telling that to you guys who are Susan in this instance.
Lord.
And it's like he just went out to get a pack of cigarettes. I'll come back.
It's almost the other way around. See, we said, okay, you have a good night, Jimmy. And, we just haven't opened the door since. We're like kicking him out. Go marry David, Jimmy. You have a good one.
Go marry David.
You're a real woman now.
This young man that I exchanged 4 lines of dialogue with should just, fuck it. Go with him. Why not?
I do have to say, that is a very good scene. It's like you can feel the emotion.
It's a very good scene, and I will say this story for me it's one of my favorite Hartnell stories, maybe my favorite Hartnell era story, because it does a lot of things the show needed that if this episode if this story didn't pull it off, I don't know if the show keeps going. They managed to bring back the Daleks and up the stakes and make them more terrifying.
Yeah.
Now it's not Skaro, we're not far away, they're in your backyard. It's the distant future, but it's our future. And the propaganda posters in the background with the vetoed and it is forbidden to
dump bodies in
the river and all that stuff. The Dalek coming out from the river, like all these things that were like really well done. Episode 3 might be my favorite. I think it's the fastest paced one. When Barbara and the other two are running through London and the Daleks are going over the bridge and all of that, it's just about as good as that era of even extending into Patrick Troughton's era. I mean, it's really one of the single best examples, I think, of the black and white era and what it's capable of, especially on such a shoestring budget that they literally have the Dalek ships in those couple of cutscenes where they're flying around on strings that you can see.
Or Daleks literally just painted onto the walls to make it look like there's more of them. It's so funny just seeing that. It's like, those are real Daleks. Hang on. That Dalek's flat. Those 2 Daleks are flat. They are literally just the wall.
Exactly. But again, I mean, with a lot of, classic Who, especially before you got to like the John Nathan Turner era, you get, it's like this episode would have probably been perfect if it was 5 episodes.
Yeah.
I think it's just, there's just and only a little too much bloat. Because episode 3 is so fast paced and it's a really intense and gripping story, especially what was it, like the score for this story. It's great. There's a lot of moments in it that echo like the Twilight Zone. Like when the one guy has to fight and his brother, who's one of the Robomen, and they both die. Like there's all these moments, like the people begging for their life and things like that. Like it's really cool, some of these moments. I mean, you also get the silly stuff, like at the end when Barbara is just like, oh, like to the microphone.
Oh Lord,
and and some other goofy stuff like that. But it's very like of that era and what they were doing. You know, primarily being a show targeted for like kids and like things like that. So like that kind of stuff. The fact that they're doing that, and there's also all this talk of brutal murder and killing people, and and things like that. It's
so close to crying exterminate, but it's always extermination.
Yeah, but it's really great. I mean, it still has all the tropes of that era of Susan's fucking paper thin ankles that are constantly twisting and breaking, and and things like that to slow down everything.
That's why he went ahead and shoved her off on David.
Yeah, well,
goodbye.
Yeah. But no, I mean, there's a lot of that stuff I think really works. The Robomen, that whole bit, which is like almost like, it's not exactly the Cybermen by any means, but it's like you could almost see this as a very early like alpha kind of like, oh well, this idea of this like human robot kind of hybrid that's like being controlled by this like collective sort of intelligence through the Black Dalek and all that. That's that's an interesting element to it. Like the fact that they did all this and expanded on sort of Dalek mythology that much in a sequel story. The fact that this is basically this is the Daleks we basically get from here on out. The invasion force Daleks, the Daleks that move around freely. They're not limited to moving on metal and things like this. The fact that they, within one serial, get so close to basically what Daleks still are today, that's really impressive. I think a lot of this stuff worked in a way, and having a companion leave and having that work really well.
Yeah.
Like this story establishes so much of just like core Doctor Who mythology that continues on, to this day. So I think it's, it's kind of like if there's one story from this era, I think if someone's like, I got to watch something from the first Doctor in a full story, what would it be? I think it's this one.
Sean is saying, on one hand, you have the Dalek Invasion of Earth. On the other, you have the chase, which I do love the chase.
Yeah,
I love the chase. It's tonally...
It's different.
It's a different kind of... It leans into the humor and the lightheartedness a little more and things like that.
Yeah, I think you're right on the money though, Joe, because this is really a great TV story. Like, it really just, and it's not to say that we don't usually watch great episodes, but sometimes the dice aren't friendly. We've had a couple of flubs in the past.
The story before this is not particularly good. Planet of Giants is not. It's a snooze fest.
But this one is really, it's exciting. It's interesting just because you're right. Companion leaves at the end of this, and she is gone. But it also has one of the best like little speeches, and speeches will continue. But here, it's like core, like you can feel it. Javane.
Yes, sir.
You have anything to say about the Dalek Invasion?
I agree with a lot of what Joe said. I think it's something. I think it's a serial, and I think it's where the show found its footing, and I think it's like you said. It's like there's a lot of things that happen in this particular serial. If I'm using the word right, that happens in this particular serial that you just see going forward throughout the series, and it does become basically what who is, if you were going to distill it down from this point forward. I think one of the there's a few things. I mean, I'll just go with. I'll start with the speech first because I actually saw the speech before I started digging into the classic Who. I saw the speech as part of the 50th anniversary, and it definitely the way they used it in the 50th anniversary. It has such a grandiosity to it that's appropriate to the character. Where they use it, I say, in such an expert way to make it seem like he is this guardian of Earth in a sense when he's really just speaking to Susan. But they use it as like he's really just guardian Earth, and it really sums up in a real way just how I'm trying to think of the word for it, but just I would almost say like how sort of like mysterious and benevolent the character I think does come off, and it's almost like it plays into like the godlike aspect of Doctor Who, and I think it serves it, and it's something that he ends up. It comes off in his personal thing, but it just kind of foreshadows some of the issues that he have to deal with going forward as his legend grows more and more. And it's something that 11 particularly had to deal with. Had to deal with that idea of like when do you go too far with this pretty much this legend that you established. The other thing that I liked about the series, I think with Sue, just as Susan was going away, they figured out how to have a better relationship between definitely the Ian and the Doctor, where it felt like they moved away from the original conceit of Ian being like the main character, the leading man. And it was something more now where he and the Doctor were kind of like peers in a sense. And it's kind of like, I think this to me felt like the serial where they truly became companions to the Doctor, as opposed to how can I say it? As opposed to equals when they really weren't. If that makes sense. Like it seems like with this one, he and Ian have developed not like a grudging respect for one another, but like a true respect for each other without it getting saccharine. And I think that's what that's one of the I think one of the key conceits of it is that to me this is the first time when it feels like they really are his companions and the Doctor's taking the lead, as opposed to the dynamic they originally wanted to establish, like, you know, the whole leading man with Ian. So it's interesting because I, again, like Joe also pointed out with a lot of these, it was just one episode too long. And I think the one that they could have gotten rid of was the second episode, because I thought they did a good job establishing in the first, even though the first episode, it just kind of like ended on a thud. For me, it was like a thud, like kind of like, okay, well, we just got through this one and see. And I actually, as I was watching it, was thinking like, how did they get people to come back next week for the second episode? Because there was no like cliffhanger aspect to it. So I think the benefit of watching it in streaming is you kind of go along with it. But I don't know, like if I was a viewer back in what has been like the 60s or whatever it was, if I would have necessarily tuned in based on the way the first episode ended. But by the time you get to 3, they're off to the races. They're really off to the races. And I think it's no surprise that when they did the Cushing films, that this was one of the ones that they adapted, because I actually enjoy, I forget what the name of the movie was for the US one that this was based on. What was the name of that? It wasn't Dalek Invasion of Earth. It wasn't Dalek Invasion of Earth, but it was a little bit shorter. But I would recommend to anyone, if you enjoy this one, I would say, despite all the differences between the British version and the American version, I think they do a really good job of capturing in that film what they do well in this episode. And it really is, and it probably would have been a better. Did they use this one as? No, they actually started off with the Scar one first, and then did the Earth one, because that's the one with Bernard Cribbs, right? Is the second one where they actually do the invasion. Yeah, I think they would have actually almost been better off doing the second movie as the first one. Maybe do a little bit of like the introduction at the beginning, but I think it really is a great introduction to what becomes, I would say what becomes the classic Who template, and even play. I think it just sets up even the revival stuff. This is what Who is supposed to be about. So I enjoyed it immensely, and it sets up the Daleks. And I agree with Joe. It's like it's something where the Daleks really make leaps and bounds in terms of character development, and it sets them up as probably the premier villains of the franchise. But in no other reason that they took over London/Earth. So yeah,
Dalek mania comes into full effect.
Yep.
Basically,
And
scaring kids
still
everywhere.
plaguing people in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
My name's ProfPixel, and I suffer from Dalek mania.
Yeah, because I mean, and I'll just say this because I think the only Who villains in terms of I would say modern one that I personally think comes close to scaring kids like this are the Angels, the Weeping Angels. Because my daughter, whenever I put that one on, she refuses. Whatever room she's in, she will stay in that room until I'm done watching it. And only when I'm done watching it will she come out to get into the rest of the house. It's like sometimes I just do that. I just want to keep her in one spot. I just put on blank. No.
Amazing.
But yeah.
Joe, I just because they want to say it. Your thoughts are well packaged and edited.
Thank you.
Yeah. I would say the Cybermen, honestly. Just classic Cybermen, especially, like they are terrifying because they feel so human. As they are, they're humans. It's a little too close to home.
Sure.
Sorry. Long days start hitting you at about midnight.
It's okay.
Yeah. But no.
Yeah, but with Cybermen, it always feels like they're more tragic than terrifying. I think that's always been my thing with the Cybermen. Like, it's more like, that's messed up, but not necessarily scary. It's just, that's messed up. They got him. Kind of a thing. But anyway.
But is anything more terrifying than the Absorbaloff?
So, the Mat Rat? No.
Chris, you're the only one who hasn't said anything. Come on.
I really like this story. I agree. It could have been shorter, definitely one episode shorter, but I get it. That clip of Danny DeVito being like, I finally get it. I get it. I can see how the Daleks became so popular. Yep. And it was definitely with this. The Daleks definitely helped. This is what really cemented them as Doctor Who villains, considering they were the first villains to come back in the next season. But yeah, I liked it. There's a lot of iconic moments in this. The cliffhanger of the Dalek coming out of the water, which is funny that when future Dalek stories would have them pushed into water as a kind of a detriment. And it's like, no, those guys can swim. You're not fooling me there.
They can't swim. They can't swim. They can go ahead and just sink to the bottom.
Rise out.
And they can wait and then drive up.
Yes. But no, yeah, I really like the story. As a companion departure, I'd say it was adequate. Yeah. I feel like there should have been a bit more between. There was enough to justify Susan leaving or being left behind, but I felt like it could have been a bit more. Because she had
matured enough. Yeah, it was like something.
Like they do show the scenes, like the scene of like her and David like fooling around. So it's like, okay, you see them starting the connection, but the problem is there's not a lot of it to be like fully believable, but it still works regardless because you at least have enough to be like, okay, maybe, I guess.
They're young and in love and in the 60s. There was nothing better to do.
No, it's the 22nd century. What do you want about?
It's enough to get you to suspend your disbelief.
Disbelief.
Show,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But but yeah, and because it's also like the first of it, there's things where it's like they get better sometimes, and then sometimes it's just Tegan being like, I'm kind of done by.
I was gonna say the next departure is definitely a bit better because the whole point was they wanted to get back home.
Yeah.
So it's like here's a time machine that can get them back home, even though they arrived. What was it? 2 years late. They arrived like 2 years later than intended, but they're like, well, we're actually back where we're supposed to be, so it doesn't matter.
Well,
we're back.
It says in this story, oh, a few years off, we don't care. Your job's mine. Your job's mine. The people in your lives, they might have cared a little bit. Where'd you go for 2 years, Ian?
Exactly.
Well, and there was, and this is still early enough in William Hartnell's tenure where he's flubbing lines a few times, but it's not nearly as bad as it eventually gets.
Yeah, it's not as noticeable. I think there's only maybe one time I really noticed it. I'm like, yeah, he messed a line up there.
Yeah, there's just that, and then sometimes when he's asking like what or where are you and things like that, you think like maybe he just literally did not hear what Ian said. But
yeah,
you know, but yeah, no, it works. I mean, even by like a few stories later.
Oh,
like was it the Romans? I think is the one with the whole bit where Hartnell's calling him Chatterton.
Yeah.
And then Barbara goes like Chesterton, and he's like, Ian, Barbara's calling you, and it's so good. But
now, can I ask you guys this? Do you think that because so much of this serial is establishing pretty much what who it's about, do you think it was a conscious decision of the writers of production to get rid of Susan so that it would make the Doctor a little bit more unique by only having one Gallifreyan on the TARDIS from this point forward? Because that's really what happens going forward.
Well, no, it's more of the actress wanted to leave because she wasn't happy with Susan as a character.
So lucky accident.
Developed
as
much.
Yeah, the problem with Susan ended up being like kind of some of the stuff being brought up earlier of she tended to just be used as a plot device to be like, oh, she's injured or got captured again or something. And Ian and Barbara tended to, even if they were in peril, kind of had like a skill or something, or like
Ian was Action Man.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
Ian was Action Man, and Barbara would like know things sometimes. You know, figure some things out, and but
Susan knows too much for a kid in the first episode, and then never again.
So yeah, but it made sense. It was, I don't know, maybe just like it's hard to tell them to change anything because look at where it got them. So it's hard to kind of go like, well, guys, you guys could have done even better if you did this, but.
Because it comes off like it's more like a happy accident or a lucky accident kind of a thing, because it really does feel like it's the serial where it moves away from, like you mentioned earlier, Joe, this whole idea of it being like a kid's show. So Susan kind of like plays like that POV role for the child, if you will. That's how they interact with the other three adults. But then with her gone, it just kind of matures the concept of the show in a bit. Where it's just like now you're just observing the actions and the adventures of just three characters, and I think it really helps to focus in on the Doctor as being more of an enigmatic figure than he would be if he had like the granddaughter who was another member of his species with him. I guess they just lucked into it. It was more like they just did things. It was like, oh, wait a minute, this is kind of clicking. I mean, is there anything that suggests that they realized they had stumbled onto like quote unquote the formula for this show with this serial or soon thereafter?
I think they only realized that Daleks were really popular.
Okay.
Yeah, that is pretty much what they did. And like Deshaun said,
Because even then,
Doctor Who is pretty much
the next story introduces another Susan archetype with Vicky.
Yeah.
So it's
Gotcha.
like they didn't really depart that far. I think
Mhm.
once Ian and Barbara left and they were replaced with Stephen,
Mhm.
I think that's when the kind of the dynamic really changed.
Yeah.
But even then, like Stephen is just an Ian replacement in most parts.
But that solidified we're
The
gonna
old
have
guard.
like a guy and a girl for a while too,
Yeah.
and then
Mhm.
you know, and they really stuck with that for a long time, and you could kind of make a pretty good argument that it really was that, more or less, with some exceptions, until, geez, I was going to even say like you know, Tom Baker and Leela, but then you get K9 and you can kind of make the argument that you know, because
we know how we feel
Unit,
about K9 here.
yeah, but like Unit more or less fills in that, like, oh, we can have a male character doing something along with, you know, Liz Shaw and you know, Joe Grant and you know, Sarah Jane, etc.
They don't really need him because the Doctor is able to do karate. So
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but you still
Venusian judo.
You still get hours and hours of like Yates eating a sandwich or something.
Mm-hmm.
They're padding out these fucking episodes like, fuck you, you're giving me a 4-parter? You stretch this to 7. That's it.
And the Brigadier
Yates needs food.
Yeah, it's great.
But that's one of the great things about like stumbling onto this, and then they are able to make the big decisions later on, which leads to him being stuck on Earth for a while, and then they realize, okay, we're bored of Earth, let's send him elsewhere. And then
the Quatermass era, I think, is like, yep, we need to go back to our roots a bit, because there's not really much we can do with, like, the Earth is just constantly invaded again and again.
But what was interesting about that dynamic, especially with 3 and Brigadier, is that it was almost a flip of 1 and Ian, where it was kind of like the Brigadier was almost taking like the mentor doctor role, especially as 3 was more of an action role. And that's what I always enjoyed about the thing, a relationship to the 2 of them. Like, it really was kind of like almost like a who's the first among equals kind of a thing. So I think that's why I enjoy it, like on the Earth Avengers. But yeah, at a certain point, it was just like, yeah, get back out in space and do what needs to be done. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, because, you know, if I remember the origins of the show correctly, so much of this, it being rooted in being like an educational show for kids, the idea is that, you know, you do this show where they're traveling through history, as opposed to show off all these concepts, as opposed to it being a sci-fi adventure. And I think with this particular serial, this is where, in addition to the dogs being popular, it's like, hey guys, you know, aliens, monsters, that's where the money's at. You know, you can travel through time and space and all that, but that whole idea, it just feels like they're shedding that whole initial concept of the, you know, adventure as edutainment, early edutainment, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole basis of the show, was all that stuff. It was like, you know, you're dealing with cavemen, the Aztecs, the Romans, Marco Polo, you know, the time meddler was, or the meddling monk rather, was, you know, the Viking invasion of 1060, like all that stuff. That was always the point. Doing something like the Daleks was like, well, we want to teach kids about things like Nazi Germany, but we, you know, we're not going to like just have them show up there. So we're going to do this sci-fi.
Imagine if they did that, though. Hitler pops in.
Yeah, you know, they eventually do that, but you know.
Let's kill Hitler.
Yeah, but you know, so it's like, That was the whole point. And then it just went, Daleks got really popular. They were like, yeah, fuck it. Let's do this.
Let's do some more sci-fi.
So now, can I ask a question?
I'd argue they didn't really do that until maybe Troughton's era. It really started to divide more into like sci-fi than historicalism.
Oh yeah,
more, yes, but
more. They started to delve more into sci-fi.
Well, he was constantly fighting the fucking Cybermen. And
like while the Daleks are gone, Terry went over to America because he thought he had some brilliant idea that the Americans would love a Dalek series.
Yeah.
Boy, was he wrong.
But it's like he doesn't, outside of a very small handful of historicals, like the Highlander and like
yeah.
We'll
look this up.
Technically, the evil of the Daleks is historical.
Victorian London. Yeah,
but it's like, but is it?
No, that's a sci-fi.
Yeah.
Here's season 4. His first one. Yeah, first story. Dalek is a Dalek story. Power of the Daleks. Yeah, then Highlanders, that was historical, but then Underwater Menace is. I guess sci-fi-ish.
Yeah.
Moonbase, sci-fi. Macroterra, sci-fi. No longer pure historicals after the Highlanders. Yeah, that's true. Faceless ones, wasn't. Evil of the Daleks. Yeah, we already talked about that. Not really. Then you move over to season 5. Yep, Tomb of the Cybermen, sci-fi. Abominable Snowmen. Ice Warriors, Enemy of the World, Web of Fear, Fury from the Deep, Wheel in Space. Yeah, like after that, Troughton's era was purely dominated with sci-fi because they realized that's what people actually kind of like now.
Yeah, because like even like war games, it's like there's so much historical stuff going on in there, but it's a sci-fi story.
It is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is then when they started season 7. It's okay, it's all contemporary now. It's all present day at the time, but there are sci-fi elements put into it.
Yeah.
So, quick question, because you guys have mentioned this earlier about the news part about the watching some of the stuff in the Marathon Vet, the Daleks being missing. So, what exactly is the relationship or the ownership of the Daleks in relation to the Doctor Who franchise when it comes to the BBC and the Terry Nation estate?
So that they every time they use Daleks, they have to pay the Terry Nation estate. The Terry Nation estate essentially loans them out for a fee.
Really?
Because Terry Nation was a smart person and controlled all the rights to it. I think, if I recall correctly.
Wow.
Well,
hence why with Evil of the Daleks, it was supposed to be the last Dalek story because he wanted to make his own Dalek series because they were popular. Everyone loved Daleks. He took it to the worst place possible, America.
But
trying to corner the market.
Yeah.
But didn't they, as part of that deal for New Who, Revival Who, or whatever, didn't they have to use the Daleks in some way or another? Like,
yes,
once
the Daleks had to appear at least once. Whether they were the actual focus of the episode or they were in an episode.
Yeah.
That's why you had Daleks appear in every season, but not all of them would be Dalek episodes.
Yeah.
Wait, that's part of the deal that he came up with?
That was part of the deal, yeah.
Yeah, that was part of the deal. If they wanted to use the Daleks, they had to appear.
I see that. I got you. It's like maintaining a copyright or trademark kind of a thing.
Yeah, essentially.
But now I don't have to worry about it.
So. Which is why I think Chibnall decided to bring back a classic monster in the form of the Daleks, because it's like, well, I think we're going to lose it. And we're going to lose that deal because I wanted to do all new villains and not a lot of them stuck.
Mm.
And we're going to lose the Daleks, and everyone loves Daleks, so the Daleks are back. Man. and they're back every year for a New Year special. So
don't make me defend Chibnall right now. I don't think it's because of the failure of season 11 that he decided.
Name an iconic villain.
Huh?
That was good.
I don't have to. I don't think it's because of that he decided to bring back the Daleks. I think he had the idea to bring back the Daleks eventually, but I don't think it's because of that. Oh, well, let me just go ahead and scramble this together. I don't know. The sequel.
After doing a whole season and be like, we're doing original stuff for this season, but then it's literally the start of the next with the New Year special is like, hey guys, Daleks.
Yeah, but it was good though. That was one when they were having the dry spell. It's just a serious dry spell. Like I could not get my family to sit down for any of that stuff because other than a couple of early ones with Jodie, it was just like, that will pass that. But that one, they were back in it again because it's a fun episode. It's like one of the mistakes he made, I think, was getting rid of the specials because they really are these little self-contained snapshots of like what's good about the show and what's good about the character, and that one was just such a perfect little thing at the right time that maybe it is just I might tend to go with Chris on that one, but in terms
I think it's mainly purely because of the rights. They were probably going to lose it, so it's like, oh shit.
But now they don't have to worry about it. Apparently Moffat's wife owns them or something. I don't know. Maybe that's a rumor.
Well, I'm wondering how it's going to work now because RTD said he wanted to give them a rest.
But we've also heard rumors that the next big season is going to end with Daleks again.
I'm not getting anything new.
I keep winning. I collect nothing but W's, as the kids say. Win.
Russell, we love your old stuff. We want some new stuff. Okay, and ending it with a Dalek finale when that was what you were most known for doing in yours, apart from Series 3, like, come on, really?
Moffat also, like, during his era, he went ahead and said, no, we don't have to do a Dalek story every season. We don't. I'm pretty sure it was him, or it might have been Jim. So, a showrunner said that basically that's a rumor.
Moffat had Dalek stories. They weren't pivotal to finales.
No, like, that I meant that they didn't have to have a Dalek for every season of the show.
I'm pretty sure Moffat had a Dalek in every season.
He did, but I'm pretty sure it was him who said that was a rumor. He doesn't know where it came from. That's not true. But basically, they don't really have to worry about it anymore.
Now, why is that?
Give them a rest. Done with Daleks.
Never. With a mercy killing by the Daleks. Yeah. Dalek.
Yes, let's wrap this up. Rankings for Dalek Invasion of Earth. Joe, your ranking for this serial.
You know what? Because of how well it works for that era, because of how it really helped like establish all things for the show, everything I already explained. I'm willing to give this one 8 out of 10 for where it's for all of it. It's not like there was a lot you could even compare it to before this. Like it's a foundational story. So.
Gervais?
No, 8 was the number I had in mind for this one. I think I'm always going to give a ding when it feels like it goes one episode too long. They could have tightened it up for whatever reasons, but I think because it in some ways it feels like if you really look at the future of the franchise and where things go, you can almost say it's like a seminal episode. It's like, like you guys were saying an earlier thing, you introduce somebody to Unearthly Child, where you kind of say, okay, this is how these four got together. And you literally could just jump to this serial and just like, and this is how we roll. And even with Susan leaving, going from there, you haven't really missed a beat. You really haven't missed a beat. So I would give it an 8. I was thinking 8.5. I didn't really want to go there, because I think that the ending of the first episode, if I was watching it real time back in the day, I don't know if that would have necessarily drawn me into the following week. I thought that was a weak part of it. Nothing drove the story forward necessarily for me to come back, but definitely a solid 8. No problem at all. Yep.
Yeah. I'm willing to go to 8.5 myself.
I can appreciate that. Yep.
I think 8.5 is a really solid choice, because it is foundational. Yes, it's just really good. This is one of the first classic full rewatches that you go ahead and it's just it's really good story, and it just sits with you. And
hang on, Pixel.
Watch it again.
We haven't shown you the web planet yet, so you might want to revise that statement.
Yeah.
Go away.
You think this is good? You haven't seen that masterpiece yet.
Yeah,
I have.
What's another good one? There's so many.
Let's go watch Planet of Giants.
Planet of Giants, yeah, that's a good one. Or
what are the thoughts on the Aztecs one? I've always liked that one.
I like that one.
There are actually, the doctor flirting with the old man. Yeah,
I thought the historical ones. Yeah, that was good. Yeah,
the partial of that one too. Cool.
There are plenty of good Doctor Who episodes. We just don't usually roll them here.
No, I'm sure the next one you're going to be like, Joe, we're finally doing Patrick Troughton again. I'm going to be like, oh boy, I can't wait. And you're going to be like, it's Seeds of Death. Fuck you. And
I don't think I've been on for a Troughton one at all. And he's one of my favorites. And I haven't been on for one.
I love
him or Seven.
Yep.
The dice are cruel sometimes. Okay. It's not my
Hey Joe, we're doing a Hartnell one. It's Galaxy 4. I've heard that's not good, and the animation for it is not the best either.
Great. What a combo.
What a combo. Yeah, exactly.
Chris.
We only have our best for our best stories.
It kills me though with Seeds of Death because the Ice Warriors is so good, and then the Seeds of Death is so unnecessary. It's like it's a 6-parter that could have been not made. It just doesn't. It's like it's cool, I guess, that we have more Troughton stuff. And Jamie and Zoe are cool together, but like, fuck.
Chris.
For me, I'm going to agree with Sean. I'm 7.5 out of 10.
Really?
Yeah, I still think it's good.
Now, why half off from the 8?
I don't know. I just don't feel like it's an 8. It's a good story, but I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, 7.5.
And it's true. I do hate that.
Man.
That TMAT operator, that voice in Seeds of Death, it kills me every time. That voice. It's like I'm trying to think of it because it's like it's burned in my mind, but I'm like to like do a kind of impression of it, that it's just like that, like oddly mechanical kind of like like T-Mat's getting ready, like going to like it's just like, oh my god, this sucks.
That's it.
That is it for this live stream. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you to our two guests, Javane and Joe, for joining us as always. One day we will go back into eSpace to retrieve Jimmy.
You know what?
I don't know why Gallifrey needs him, but we'll find him.
I'm not sure. Although I think the Warrior's Gate is fucking fantastic and underrated. The other two stories in eSpace, it's like, all right, they're fine. They're not bad stories, but like,
it's fine.
Full Circle's fine, and then State of Decay is
State of Decay. Good. Yeah,
it's like it's fine. But then you get to Warrior's Gate, and I'm like, oh, this is actually like a really good story. That captain.
No, it's the end of it.
So good. Yeah.
That's it. That's the end of it. It's funny. One part of Warrior's Gate is technically the first classic Who I watched because I didn't know what it was. I was like, "Hey, Doctor Who's on." I'm like, "Wait, this looks nothing like what I was watching before. What is this?"
Yeah, Satan Pit was mine. We were in traveling in a hotel, and I turned it on, and there's like this big devil demon thing talking to a guy in an astronaut suit. I was like, "Wait, what's this?" I was like, yeah, interesting. Let me check this out when I get back home.
What was that bit with Roman and Warrior's Gate? I'm trying to think where it was like why did you believe them? Because they were running, and like that whole bit with the lion running around. And that's the one where I'm pretty sure that's the one where Tom Baker goes, "We'll burn that bridge when we get to it."
I think so, maybe. It's been a while since I watched.
That's the one he says. That one. Yeah.
I tried watching Rose. I did not. If I had watched Rose, I would not be here today. I did
really,
but it was
because you'd be dead. Like
no, I know. It's just I watched it. I hated it. I hated it so much. I watched Runaway Bride, and I loved it. That sold me on the show. If it wasn't for Donna Noble, I would not be watching Doctor Who.
Yeah, so Professor, you ain't wrong. So I was like, yeah, because Donna is what sold my family on Doctor Who. In terms of from that perspective, she definitely, even though they liked her much better in Partners in Crime, like that sort of characterization of Donna, but definitely that. Because with Rose, I think it's almost like Batman 66, Adam West cheesy. And if it wasn't for the end of that episode, the idea of like Rose running into the TARDIS, like leaping into adventure, and just kind of seeing where it was going, I could see if that was and then I had seen in the Satan Pit before, but if that was my only exposure to it, I could agree. I'd be like, "Are you kidding?" And just kept it moving. It's like, yeah.
That I watched it through, and at the ending, I was like, "Yeah, I'm done. Goodbye." I went over to a friend's house the next day, and I said, "I tried watching it, but it just didn't work out." They forced the Series 3 DVD into my hand and said,
"Yeah,
take this home, you watch it, and if you don't like that, then it is what it is." I watched it. Got the next one and watched all of that too. It was great.
So why is Rose so unappealing as a companion? Because there's a lot of people I know who just do not like her. They really don't.
She's, I don't know, like kind of annoying. That's a topic for another day. We should end this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, but we're so close to hitting an hour and a half. Like we might as well just stretch this out for another minute, right?
It's like, no.
Watching. ALLONS-Y.